Hello everyone. So I wanted to do something a little bit different, as you can tell. So let's see how this works out. I'm hoping that it goes well. Anyway, I found a story on what's really going on in South Africa a couple of days ago. And, we never really get the truth. And this story is as accurate as it can get, as accurate as anything else I've seen, except for the numbers. And that's because when this was written, the numbers weren't available. So, it's called White Genocide and Communism, The End of South Africa. It was written by Alex Newman. Trying to find the date. March 3rd, 2018. So it wasn't written that long ago. But I specifically wanted to bring this to your attention and speak on it because it goes over Genocide Watch and their warnings to the South African government and their report. And I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's really long, but I'm going to go over some of it. So I'm going to start with like countless South Africans, Andre Vandenberg has lost multiple relatives to violence in the so-called Rainbow Nation. In separate incidents, according to Vandenberg, a motorcycle exporter and former military man who now lives in the United States, 2 of his female cousins were brutally and repeatedly raped in front of their husbands. One of the women was pregnant with the couple's first child. All 5 victims were murdered, meaning the baby as well. After sodomizing and killing the husbands in both cases, the ruthless attackers raped Vandenberg's cousins again. Enduring the horror for hours, one of the women was eventually shot. The other had a tire filled with gasoline put around her neck and set ablaze. The agonizing punishment known as necklacing, which was once commonly meted out to black opponents of the predominantly black African National Congress, now ruling South Africa, in an unholy alliance with the South African Communist Party and an umbrella group for labor unions. Before Vandenberg lost his cousins, his father was killed by a truck driver in a suspicious accident. The drunken suspect, apparently a respected figure within the ANC, was arrested at the scene. However, under pressure from the ANC, the killer was released on $100 bail. Wow. Again, with the help from the ANC. Vandenberg said the driver fled and was never prosecuted for the killing. No explanation was ever given by authorities, despite repeated appeals for answers. After being deported back to South Africa from the United States over an alleged failure to report a change of address, Vandenberg's brother was killed too. That's really sad. Within a year of his arrival, he was brutally murdered. Witnesses watched the murder unfold and told police. But as has become typical, no one was ever prosecuted. A male cousin of Vandenberg's, meanwhile, was shot in the chest while being robbed. As is often the case, the murder was labeled an accident by authorities. Vandenberg says, it's racial crime. An Afrikaner descendant of Dutch settlers, in an interview with The New American, the ANC people are using genocide. They're pro-genocide. Long term, they want all the property that belongs to whites. The black-led ANC communist regime is twice as racist as the former white-led apartheid government ever was, he added, and along with its supporters, the South African government is willing to do anything to accomplish its goals. I agree with him. Hold on, I'm going to go out. Okay, so this says there was concern because there had been a wave of genocidal murders, is what people were calling it. So, following a fact-finding mission to South Africa in July, Dr. Gregory Stanton, head of the nonprofit group Genocide Watch, announced his conclusions. There is an orchestrated genocidal campaign targeting whites, and white farmers in particular. The respected organization released a report about its investigation shortly afterward. On a scale the group developed to identify the phases of genocide, South Africa has been moved to stage 6, the preparation and planning phase. Step 7 is extermination. The 8th and final stage, denial after the fact. Among the startling discoveries, long known to South Africans and analysts monitoring the powder keg, was evidence pointing to the ANC regime itself. There is thus strong circumstantial evidence of government support for the campaign of forced displacement and atrocities against white farmers and their families, Genocide Watch leaders said in the report entitled, "Why Are Afrikaner Farmers Being Murdered in South Africa?" According to experts, oh no, I'm not going to read that. So, I'll tell you something because the numbers were wrong. So, more than 100,000 have been murdered since the ANC came into power in 1994. The international murder rate is 9 out of 100. The murder rate for South Africa as a whole is 35.2 per 100,000. That's more than 6 times the U.S. murder rate. Oh, that is insane. The murder rate for South African farmers is 156 out of 100,000. Yeah, think about that for a second. That's crazy. But it's worse than the murders. Many of the victims, including children and even infants, are raped or savagely tortured or both before being executed or left for dead. Sometimes boiling water is poured down their throats. Other attacks involve burning victims with hot irons or slicing them up with machetes. In more than a few cases, the targets have been tied to their own cars and dragged along dirt roads for miles. I have an autopsy report of a young man, a farmer. This was done to him, very young. I'm going to go on. According to Dr. Stanton, who was also involved in the apartheid movement in South Africa, and has decades of experience examining genocide and communist terror, the trend points toward a troubled future for the nation. What he said is, things of this sort are what I have seen before in other genocides. Pointing to several examples, including a victim's body that was left with an open Bible on top, and other murder victims who were tortured, disemboweled, raped, or worse. This is what has happened in Burundi. It's what's happened in Rwanda. It's happened in many other places in the world. Speaking in Pretoria at an event organized by the anti-communist Transvaal Agricultural Union, Dr. Stanton also lashed out at the effort to dehumanize whites in South Africa by portraying them as settlers. The label is meant to paint Afrikaner white farmers, descendants of Northern Europeans who arrived centuries ago, some as far back as the 1600s, as people who do not belong there. High-ranking ANC government officials who continuously refer to whites as settlers and colonialists of a special type are using racial epithets in a campaign of state-sponsored dehumanization of the white population as a whole, Genocide Watch said in its latest report. They sanction gang-organized hate crimes against whites with the goal of terrorizing whites through fear of genocidal annihilation. It's the same process that happened prior to the infamous genocide against Christian Armenians in Turkey. Stanton explained, the dehumanization phenomenon also occurred against the Jewish people in Germany under the National Socialist regime. Unfortunately, South Africa might be next in line. Whenever you have that kind of dehumanization, you have the beginning of that downward spiral into genocide, Stanton noted, adding that the situation in South Africa had already moved well beyond the next stage. The next phase before extermination, which began years ago in South Africa, is organizing to actually carry it out. We're worried that there are organized groups that are in fact doing the planning. Stanton continued during his speech. It became clear to us that the ANC Youth League was this kind of organization. It was planning this kind of genocidal massacre and also the forced displacement of whites from South Africa. As you know, at that time, the Youth League ANC leader was Julius Malema, and he sings Kill the Boer. I'm not going to read further into this because it's pretty long, but I will put the link in the description of the video. So I hope you'll read it because this is a really good article. And once again, for anyone out there that is looking to help make a difference, I am not good at this, obviously, of raising money, but you know, in case you didn't see the last video, there is a funding page to send citizen journalists there. Since we can't get anything on the news media, there is a plan in place. Things are ready, but we have a funding page up, and it's not that great of an amount, but we're in need of people to donate to help reach the goal, which is $5,000, and that's to pay for travel and expenses, production, everything. So if you're able, please help us with this. Time is short and it needs to be done ASAP, and I will put the link to that in the description as well. Please, anyone, Americans, Australians, Swedes, please take the time to go and read this and donate if you can. This could make a huge difference. So please don't write it off or think, oh, well, it's just a little bit of money, because it's very much needed to make a difference for this community. So I urge you to read it, and please help us to reach this goal in a short amount of time. I know that's asking a lot, but we're really desperate to get this started and get it in production so that Americans and other people around the world can see the truth, because we can't get it anywhere else. So we have to report on it ourselves. And with that said, I will talk to you guys later. It is past my bedtime. I'm very tired. And everyone that's in South Africa, I hope that you have a wonderful day. And please help me spread this fundraising campaign. This money should not be that hard to raise. I'm just frustrated because I didn't think it would be this hard, but there's a need for this, and I really need help, guys, spreading this around and reaching the goal. So thank you very much, and good night.